surprising given the desert location.
Yeah, one number to note is in the lower right corner is the 2001 number. By aggregating data going back to 2001, you may have some artifacts of how indoor water use has changed due to more fixed
'cause it's 10
reductions.
years,
Yeah,
right,
fixed
good point.
reductions related to appliances, et cetera.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good point. And you know, another interesting point on this slide is that how variable indoor water use is by hydrologic region. And I asked DWR staff what might account for that, and their feeling is housing stock has a lot to do with it. So the newer the homes with the more efficient appliances, the lower the indoor number is going to be. It also, although outdoor water use is important, it also, does demonstrate indoor use is not significant as well. And, we all need to, do what we can, especially given where we are right now with the January data on the indoor side of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And, okay, so we just wanted to add a couple slides talking about residential turf removal. So this is data provided by the Metropolitan Water District, and it represents turf removal requests from January of last year to the current, to this month. And it's residential requests for turf removal. So these are requests, they're not necessarily funded yet. MWD staff has indicated that they do have funds available to cover all these requests, but they anticipate that some of them will, drop out for various reasons. But, what we see is when you add up all of the months of turf removal requests, we get about 31 million square feet, which is about 711 acres. So that's a lot of potential for turf removal. The other interesting thing is looking at, last January compared to this January. Certainly it does seem that, maybe the program didn't start until recently. I'm not familiar with how old the program is, but it looks to me that interest is really increasing. And then the same slide, but just for commercial applications. So commercial turf removal requests, even more total square feet, 45 million square feet, equivalent to about 1,000 acres. So when you add it all up, you're talking, over 1,700 acres of turf removed in the LA service area. So those are all hopefully savings that will materialize in water savings as we move
It's
forward.
South Coast, not LA, because Metropolitan covers all of the South Coast.
You're right. I actually meant Metropolitan Water District service area. So, yeah, the whole South Coast.
Great, thank you.
And then just our final slide here. We continue to work with water suppliers. I already talked about some of our compliance efforts, and we're reaching out and evaluating the information that they provided right now. We're also in the process of going through the recommendations that we received from the December 17th workshop, as well as all the written comments and other information that's been made available. There's a lot of good information and good ideas out there. We're in the process of compiling that information, and we plan to bring it back to the board as part of an information item at the February 17th, 18th board meeting. I'm not sure at this point which day it will be. Janine, you might have that. The conservation,
17th.
the 17th. So that will be the 17th, and so we're gonna bring back a summary of the ideas that we've heard and the input that we received, as well as potential options for the next steps for the board to consider. And these options could include, as we've talked about, extending the current emergency regulation before it expires in April, or potentially augmenting those regulations to add some additional clarification or additional requirements. Discussion of funding opportunities, as well as a description of potential authorities that the board could consider using outside the scope of the emergency regulation in a focused manner or a location specific manner.
Like our waste and unreasonable use authority.
That's certainly one of your authorities.
Just trying to pull the whole meeting together.
Pull it together, yeah. So that concludes our presentation.
That's
If
great.
there's any questions or anything we can do for you.
Any questions? We have a number of speakers,
Well,
but
just clarification, so you would expect, and I don't know when it expires in April, so you'd expect to be bringing it to us in April or March?
We would expect, we would recommend bringing it back to you no later than the second March meeting, so that we didn't have because once you adopt it, OAL has to approve it, so we just want to make sure that we don't have a lapse in the regulations if you do indeed decide to extend them.
other questions? All right, we'll move to the speaker cards. Thank you very much. That's good news indeed. Thank you for all the important caveats, but I think if I had a little sparkler and it were legal, I would probably be lighting it right now. I'm going to take it all as good news. First, we have Dave Boland, and people haven't requested time. I'd say 5. We don't have a million cards, but it's the centerpiece of the agenda today. 5 minutes. Dave Boland from the Association of California Water Agencies, followed by Penny Falcon or Falcone? Falcon. Penny. You'll tell me how to say it right when you get here. From the LA Department of Water and Power.
Thank you, Chair Marcus and board
Dave.
members. David Boland, Association of California Water Agencies. Just wanted to underscore the kind of the encouraging news that we sort of intuitively knew about December, the fact that rain helps, and the fact that all these numbers are starting to pile up to some information. We're starting to actually see some patterns and trends and being, I guess, encouraged at a statewide scale that we're starting to unpack some of the things that as a profession we've been engaged with for a long time, working with the department on 20 by 2020 targets and so forth. So it does underscore a variety of conditions. It does underscore the variety of supplies and all kinds of things about climate and land use patterns and housing stock and just all kinds of interesting things. So I think we are looking forward to delving in, to unpacking those patterns. The ongoing communication and outreach efforts are also really important. We're looking forward to gearing up on the Save Our Water program. Jennifer Persyke and the department is going to be presenting on that shortly. Save Our Water, we think, has been really an effective effort, and we're looking forward to going big on that in the coming year. The fact that we are looking at the potential extension of this drought, I mean, it's pretty grim right now. I think we were very pleased about December, but obviously January is extremely worrisome. And the idea that we would support the emergency regulation extension, I think that's pretty much obvious at this point that the emergency is still with us. And so we're going to be working with the staff to provide some actionable input here for the 17th and help to try to form what that next effort looks like. We think that a lot of what we're doing already, we need to stay the course on it, continue to collect the data that we're collecting. There may be some marginal tweaks that we'll be proposing. We do want to try to emphasize measures that are conservation, use reduction oriented that would help Californians to respond to the drought emergency while still keeping our eye on the fact that we're investing long term in these, I guess you call it change of pattern of water use efficiency in California, and particularly in the residential sector. But also we need to be looking at the CII sector as well. Encouraging closer work with the department to advance these long-term efforts on water use efficiency, and we appreciate the fact that the staff is going to be working with the department closer on that with the USC process. The department had been doing before, which is the Urban Stakeholder Committee process, which is part of the 20 by 2020 implementation, and we're moving forward with that. And then finally, just to underscore the fact that we'll be having some written recommendations prior to the 17th, and we look forward to a robust discussion on the 17th.
Right. Thank you very much. The partnership's been crucially important. Appreciate it. All right. Penny Falcon, followed by Barry Nelson from the NGO Coalition.
Good morning. And I just want to recognize that it's really nice to be here up at the state and able to present some information. Fran,
Also because you were sick the last time you were going to present, so that's another reason it's nice to be here.
Exactly. But Dave did a fantastic job. I'm not going to repeat what David presented out, but I do want to recognize and thank Fran for just bringing up the topic for further discussion on how we really account for a lot of the commitment that several water agencies statewide have made in getting permanent water savings and the decades of work that's been done. So just a little highlighting for those that don't know very much about LADWP. We've always had a conservation ethic in the city of Los Angeles since we became fully metered in the early 1900s. We began our formal water conservation program in 1977. And overall, we've spent since just 1990 about $350 million on our conservation rebate programs alone. And that's translated into over 110,000 acre-feet of water savings per year that we see on a regular basis. We currently have about a $50 million budget. We've increased that slightly during 2014 to account for our aggressive rebate programs that we've been doing. We've increased rebates, we've increased our public outreach and education campaigns, so that $50 really goes towards getting that acre-foot water savings. Traditionally, we've had about a $35 million water budget on an annual basis, so you can see we've really increased that. I know our numbers in the past months since we've been reporting have only ranged from about 3.5% to 9% water savings from where we currently are, but I think it's important to note from where our current starting point is, and I think that's what Fran really recognized, and we had a great discussion yesterday about how to properly, or what we can do moving forward to recognize that and basically get good cost-effective water savings. Our December numbers did come down quite a bit, and I know Eric was real happy. He's always asking about what my numbers are going to look like. But I have to caution you, we did get twice as much rain. So instead of the average 2 inches of rain, we saw 4 inches of rain. So, I am a little skeptical about what we're going to see in January, but I would love to be able to keep up the pace that we've set and the target that we've set. This slide here that I'd like to show you really kind of looks at something. It's just to kind of get some conversations going, look at something a little bit different than percent reduction maybe, looking from just 2013, a snapshot in time compared to 2014. This is showing the population by region on the left and the water usage by region on the right. You do see the first region down the bottom is the South Coast. We're 57% of population by region, but we only use 56% of the water statewide. For LA, we are 11% population in the state of California. But we have only used, since the beginning of the tracking, the way the state board does it, we've only used either 7.6 to 9.7% of the water use compared to, again, the 11% of the population. So that kind of gives you perspective on where LA's at and the decades of water conservation that we do. We just don't target a temporary change in the way we use water. We're looking at a long-term change in how we use water, and we'd really like to have the state start looking at how we can long-term look at that. I think we need to develop a better metric than we're using to address all this. I would love, like David said, I think we have a mechanism to do that in the Urban Stakeholder Committee and the Department of Water Resources. I think we can all work together with Eric and his team on coming up and looking. We're getting a lot of data, and I think we need to really focus in on why we're seeing the outliers, why we're seeing some areas that have really high GPCD, how we can help them bring it down. What exactly are they doing? And I'd love to share what we've done in Los Angeles to help move them along. If you can go just one more slide, I really think this, outreach and education, we invest a lot in it. We're going to be investing $4 million this next year just for that. This is a temporary thing. It's important. The Caltrans signage gets a lot of people talking. Temporary is good because we need that immediate behavior change. But if you go to the next slide, I really think that we are, what we're doing in LA and in South Coast with Metropolitan is really trying to push the long-term sustainability. It goes with stormwater capture. It's not just water efficiency, it's sustainable living, and that's the message we're trying to get, and we'd love to be a partner with you on that.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And in the conversations we've had, at least I've had with the media, I think it's also been hard on LA because you're bundled up with the whole South Coast, and your
Yes.
numbers have always been higher or lower, depending on which number you're looking at, than the average. So I've tried to point that out. But any different ways to be talking about this or illuminating reality better for folks is really helpful.
And one thing that Penny pointed out yesterday, the new mayor, Eric Garcetti, has set a 20% reduction from this past summer.
Yes, from
Yeah.
July
So
of
even
2014.
even
By
a much
2017.
much more aggressive
Right.
Yes.
approach. So that's what Penny's having to deal with
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
going to be looking forward. I mean, LA is going to have to set the standard for everybody on conservation, stormwater capture, recycling, et cetera, to meet his goals, including the 50% cut in imported water by 2024. So you guys get to go to the moon now.
Yes, we do, and we actually have a water conservation potential study that we're going to have finished by the end of this year that will really identify, what we've done, the success, and where we can go and how much more we can get.
That's
and so
great.
I'd love to share that too with you.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Okay, thank
Happy
you.
to give you special time on the agenda when that comes out if you want.
Excellent, thank you, appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I just want to echo that this was a point we brought up, Fran and I, when we participated in the New Normal California Landscape Conferences back in May last year, was that water resources are touched by landscaping, not just in terms of water efficiency with replacing lawns and that sort of thing, but also in terms of how urban drainage is designed in our cities, where landscape features can help remove pollution, recharge groundwater, and achieve multiple benefits. So landscaping is where it's at. Thanks.
Goes back to our original speaker this morning. Mr. Nelson, for the NGO Coalition, followed by Jenny Gain from CUA.
Thank you, Chair Marcus and board members. Barry Nelson with Western Water Strategies, speaking today on behalf of a coalition of environmental, fishing, and community organizations that has put together a very comprehensive set of recommendations called Whether or Not. You have, board members have received a hard copy of this document, and I have electronic, and I have hard copies for you as well. I served as the coordinator of this process with over 20 NGOs, putting together ultimately more than 50 recommendations for state and federal action in the next year or two in response to the drought. The recommendations cover a very broad range of areas. The state board, I think, will be interested in a number of them. The single greatest number of recommendations are in the area of water use efficiency. That's why I requested to appear before you regarding this item. But it's important to note that the recommendations in here do cover a very broad range of recommendations, far beyond water use efficiency and your emergency conservation regulations. But I will start just by briefly presenting some thoughts about water use efficiency and then moving on to touching on some other areas. The first set of recommendations regarding water use efficiency issues touches on, and this has been touched on already by a number of speakers today, the board's underutilized authority with regard to waste and unreasonable use. The definition of reasonable use changes over time, and 2015, I think, presents a really important opportunity for the board to lay out a modern interpretation of what waste and unreasonable use means. In the world we live in today, these recommendations included 7 areas, specific areas for the board to consider as it thinks about moving forward in the area of waste and unreasonable use. Very briefly, those 7 areas are the use of conservation-based rate structures, continued use of inefficient plumbing fixtures. We've made great progress, but there's a lot more old inefficient fixtures out there. Establishing a maximum per capita indoor residential water use, and you've heard a little bit about that already today. Leak detection programs, where possible, the use of recycled water in landscapes, implementation of critical efficient water management practices in the ag sector, and some stormwater opportunities as well. Those 7 areas we think are well worth investigation as the board thinks about how to use its authority. And given the numbers that we've seen for January, the precipitation numbers for January, congratulations on the terrific numbers for December and the steady progress over the course of the year. But the precipitation numbers of January clearly show that we're not out of the woods yet. The document contains a number of other recommendations regarding water use efficiency. I'll just touch on 4 categories.
Great.
First is starting to think about what the state's next goal is for water use efficiency. We set 5 years ago a goal of 20% savings in GPCD by 2020 because of the drought, your work, and the economic downturn to a certain extent. Many water agencies have already achieved that goal. It's time for us to start thinking about what that next goal should be, and the NGO groups are starting to put together some recommendations there. Second, behavior change. A number of folks have touched on this. responding to the drought and locking in savings over the long term is going to require behavior change, not just the sorts of codes and standards and so forth, the changes in hardware, fixtures and appliances in our homes that we've done a tremendous amount of in the last 20 years. Changing behavior requires different tools than we've often used to promote efficiency, and we've got a lot of opportunities to focus on that area in the coming year. One of those is more aggressive public education and media programs, and I'm looking forward to the presentation shortly on that, both at the state level and at the local level. The use of behavioral water efficiency more broadly, that issue, that new tool was included in the state water plan update this year. Use of conservation-based rate structures, and the creation of a statewide clearinghouse on urban water efficiency opportunities. That's something CUWCC might be able to help with. Those are all behavior change related tools. We need to really work on maximizing how we use the tools in the behavior change toolbox, because there's so much water savings there, because that has so much to do with what happens in terms of outdoor landscape water conservation. And landscape water conservation is the next category. There are other tools there. You've seen the tremendous growth in turf rebates. That's something we think we can see more aggressively statewide. Statewide landscape water conservation training programs. A number of folks have touched on this. We need to take advantage of the drought to work with landscapers to transition, not just for drought savings, but to use the drought to transition to short-term savings that will translate into long-term savings. The document has a number of other recommendations on landscape water conservation that I won't touch on here. Last one in the area of water use efficiency is enforcing existing requirements. The state has existing requirements regarding plumbing deadlines, ag water management plans, a model landscape ordinance, and we haven't always been very aggressive on making sure that those programs, those deadlines are respected and implemented statewide. Droughts are a good time to move forward on that front. Those are some of the more relevant recommendations with regard to your emergency water conservation regulations. Excuse me. Briefly, the report also touches on updating the board's water rights accounting and enforcement system, and your staff has just released a document evaluating your efforts last year, so we think that's a terrific report to start moving forward in implementing some improvements in that area. Clean water and safe water drinking funds, revolving funds, stormwater capture, recycling, gray water, water technology, and planning for droughts. Lots of recommendations in this document. We're very hopeful that this document will help encourage, foster an even broader discussion about how we respond to the drought, and the board plays a central role in that debate. We look forward to working with you.
Great, thank you. It is very helpful. You have recommendations that go beyond the state board. I'm
Yes.
assuming that you can go deliver it to DWR right there, but that you're actually working with the other entities that deal with water. We're on point for many issues, and obviously we've been doing these regs, but DWR has a phalanx of great people, and some of those issues are clearly in their ballpark, as well as the administration and the legislature.
We absolutely will. There are state and federal recommendations as well, so we're having those conversations, and among stakeholders as well as state and federal agencies and legislators.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the time on the report, but also for coming. Next, we have Jenny Gain with KUA, followed by Tom Martinez from the Santa Clara Valley Water District.
Good morning. My name is Jenny Gain, and I'm the staff engineer for KUA, the California Urban Water Agencies. For those of you that may not be familiar with our organization, we're comprised of 10 of the largest water agencies throughout the state. Collectively, our members serve water to more than 2/3 of the state's population, both directly and indirectly. Our members have long been leaders in conservation. We've recently released a new conservation and water use fact sheet that we wanted to share with the board. So I brought copies of that today that I can provide to you all. The fact sheet briefly describes our agency's conservation actions both in response to the current drought and for longer-term water use transformations as part of a diversified portfolio to increase reliability. For example, as you've heard from many today, there are a lot of turf replacements happening, and so we've summarized our agency's collective efforts in the past 6 years to expand residential turf replacement programs. Our agencies have collectively achieved a more than 25-fold increase in residential turf replacements and have increased annual direct funding of these programs from $40,000 a year to more than $14 million per year in rebates. It's important to note that as our member agencies are working to reduce demands, the cost of delivering water largely remains fixed. So, for example, repairing and replacing aging infrastructure is something that has to happen regardless of how much water is delivered to customers. So flexible financial management approaches are needed to enable water agencies to sustain and to continue providing services to their customers. The fact sheet also provides clarification on per capita water use metrics, including the differences between GPCD and residential, or RGPCD. Comparison of per capita water use can be confusing due to the number of factors that are out there, and the board has acknowledged these on your website. Climate, building density, the economy, categories of water use, and seasonal residents and commuters all influence this metric. Weather normalization can provide some clarification, and it's encouraging to see the staff looking at that data. In addition, evaluating per capita water use for a longer-term trend, for example, maybe a 12-month rolling average, could also provide some valuable insight. Within the fact sheet, we've included a plot that shows GPCD for our retail member agencies since the 1970s. And we've also highlighted within this plot the periods of drought and economic downturn and the associated effects on per capita water use. This plot shows the steady progress that our agencies are making to reduce per capita water use. It's important to keep in mind that as water use becomes more efficient, the potential for further reductions is limited. And it seems like this is also a recurring theme during the discussion today. So for example, a certain percent reduction may be more reasonably attained by agencies that are less efficient. So as I noted, I did bring copies of our fact sheet today, and it's also posted on our website, which is www.cuwa.org. That's CUWA.org.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Tom Martinez, Santa Clara Valley Water District, followed by Kyle Jones from Sierra Club, California.
Good morning, Chair, Directors. Can you hear me?
Hi.
My name is Tom Martinez. I'm with the Santa Clara Valley Water District. Given today's topic, I thought it would be a good time to remind or share some of our recent successes. This past November, we reached the 20% conservation level, surpassed that this past December with the 25% conservation level. Additionally, we reached a near 10-fold participation in our lawn conservation program that was discussed earlier today, reaching over 1 million square feet. Actually, it's 1.1 million square feet this past year. My coworkers in this area reminded me this morning that we have an additional 1.9 million square feet to process in the months ahead. All that aside, we are reminded daily of the fabulous contributions of recycled water. For that reason, my CEO, Bull Goldie, is focusing on ways to accelerate water recycling projects throughout the Silicon Valley area.
Okay, got it.
And the Water Board, you are well situated to help lead the way for districts such as ours in achieving our water recycling goals. In this past fall, we celebrated the opening of our Advanced Water Purification Center in Silicon Valley. It's the largest of its kind in Northern California and can produce up to between 8 to 10 million gallons of high-quality purified water each day. I invite you, some of you have already visited our Advanced Water Purification Center, and others are in line to in the next couple of months. Please visit Silicon Valley, learn more about some of the projects we are working toward. Collection of staff and team working on some incredible projects to help keep Silicon Valley running and our economy and our state moving forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the great leadership.
Thank you.
It's inspiring. Kyle Jones, Sierra Club, followed by Sarah Amendzadeh, Director of the California Coastkeeper Alliance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kyle Jones, a policy advocate with Sierra Club, California. I'd like to thank the board for their efforts they've undertaken in creating regulations to promote water use efficiency and conservation during this drought. We've come very far as a state but we feel that we need to continue to further decrease our water use as a way of not only coping with this drought, but also to prepare for future increased droughts during climate change. I think through education and providing information to the public in an easy digest manner, we can start to build a water conscious culture for all Californians. We hope that the board can continue to provide great leadership in this effort to again preserve our trends of conservation and increase water use efficiency overall. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Good morning, board members. Sarah Amanzada with California Coastkeeper Alliance. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just thought it was such a great opportunity to come up here and be super positive and encouraging. I echo Felicia's remarks. This is really encouraging. I feel like we have a lot of momentum coming into 2015 and progress. Just want to say a few things about what we're going to be advocating for in April, or actually March, as we reconsider these regulations. Definitely want to see them renewed and strengthened where possible. Also want to echo the comments from LADWP about the messaging around permanent changes to our behaviors, and the fact that this drought is the new normal. We've been really pleased in working around messaging at the local level. Our Los Angeles waterkeeper encouraged folks to take the Dirty Car Pledge and saved 3 million gallons of water. We have programs all throughout the state and are really looking forward to partnering with you and implementing these regulations in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. That was great. Any comments before we move to item 4? Okay, great. Thank you very much. We could have a little party, we would, but we can't. We got to move on. Item number 4. Yay, now we get to hear from our partner in this work. Celebrate together, wherever you'd like. If you don't mind doing it there, it's better for us because these are weird chairs and you've got to perch on the edge to actually see people down there.
Can you click the PowerPoint for me? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks. Okay.
Okay.
So thanks for having us back. My name is Nancy Vogel, and I'm Assistant Director at the California Department of Water Resources for Public Affairs. We were here in June, and we gave you some background on this Save Our Water program, so I won't repeat all of that history of Save Our Water, but it's a partnership, six-year-old partnership between DWR and the Association of California Water Agencies, and we wanted to give you a quick summary of our accomplishments last year, 2014, and give you a sense of what's coming up in the future. There we go. And Jennifer knows that I'm a technical idiot, so here, show me what you want. Arrow on both sides. Let me see here. No? Tried that one. Yeah, why don't you do it? That's easier, thank you. All right, so we've got 2 primary audiences, which is your average Californian, the public. The second audience would be those leaders of water districts, the local water districts, that don't want to have to reinvent the wheel of conservation materials. So we try to maintain a well-stocked toolkit for water districts so that they can pull down any of our materials and use them, tailor them, and get them out there to their customers to encourage water conservation. Last year was a big, if you could click again, that'd be great. Last year was a really big year for Save Our Water. For 5 years, we'd gotten by on less than $1 million, and thanks to the emergency funding that came in April as a result of the drought, we got $2 million in April, and then an additional $1 million available July 1st, 2014, and it allowed Save Our Water for the first time to do widespread, large-scale public advertising, paid advertising. And you can see here by the numbers the result of our efforts. And we've had hundreds of downloads of different materials from our toolkit. We topped more than 100,000 Facebook likes last year. We got hundreds of Californians giving us their ideas on how to save water, real robust response on social media as well. So we were very happy to have this kind of, to have the resources to do this level of outreach. And please, please keep in mind that for the longest time, we were really just a website, you know, getting by. And so we could build things up. Go ahead for the next press release, or next. Our effort last summer focused on outdoor water use, and obviously, based on the discussion this morning, you can see why. That's the easiest place for the homeowner or the renter to save water, to save the largest amounts of water. And we created a lot of materials, and our aim was to try to make a brown lawn a badge of honor and to build this, you know, esprit de conservation corps, so to speak, among Californians. And we got a lot of good feedback, and these materials were used all over the state. Some of the things you can see here that we did, we built a Spanish language microsite. We had an indoor water use and an outdoor water use exhibit that were pretty popular at the State Fair. We're going to use those again. We'll be at the State Fair again and the Los Angeles County Fair next summer. We also partnered with Major League Baseball. We just last month launched a new website that's a lot more robust. It's a better platform for us. It's integrated with social media. Anyway, you can click on. We also were lucky enough to get to have several celebrities lend their talent and their name to our effort, and this created a lot of great material for us for radio and TV ads. It was very popular on social media, these spots, and it also generated a lot of free publicity. And we're hoping to get more celebrity involvement this year, so if you know of any, and you can strong-arm them, we're ready to work with them. So speaking of publicity, I want to thank the Water Board because, frankly, you have been the best messenger of how severe the drought is and how important conservation is. Whenever you took action to impose restrictions on outdoor water use, those emergency regulations, there were more than 16 million Californians that saw the coverage of your actions. And your month-over-month comparisons have been really well covered in the media, and that helps us get the message out, even to people who think that they're not directly affected by the drought. So we really appreciate that. We built a lot of great artwork. The designer at Aqua did this off of your efforts, your restrictions on outdoor water use to try to make it easy for people to understand. And these were popular with local water districts last summer.
I mean, I need to change the display in my office. I still have the first set of signs. I need 3 more boards.
We
just
can
to
do that.
Update it. Yeah.
Well, we'll get you some more poster boards for
Yeah.
sure, and maybe even for the lobby of the building.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
That'd be great.
Okay. And we wanted to show you how some of the Save Our Water materials are being used at the local level, so you can actually see how it's, these districts are, they're embracing the materials, they're tweaking it for their own purposes, and they're getting it out there and using it, and it's a little more efficient for everybody than having to start from scratch and create your own campaign. That's not to say that local water districts aren't investing millions of dollars in some places in their own campaigns to reach their customers. So, and we welcome that as well. We try to be sort of the broad, generic messenger here. The next there you go. So here you can see Ventura took our, that's somebody's front lawn that I know, the photograph there. And there you go. And at Sacramento State University, you can see little signs with the Save Our Water logo all over the campus that talk about the mulch that's in the arboretum and the brown lawns across the campus. Rayleigh's partnered, used our materials and our messaging at the Farm to Fork Festival here in Sacramento as well, and handed out buckets so that people could capture that cold water so they didn't have to stand in it, Felicia. I know
I
you
only have one house plant, and I have a totally low-flow toilet.
You could flush your toilet with, well, you're
no,
right, you're right.
It's as much.
Well, I'm going to turn it over now to Jennifer Persyk of Aqua, who's going to talk about our plans for this year, because we got a lot of them. And everybody knows January was extremely dry. There's hope for rain later this week. We don't know how much. We don't know if it'll, help tremendously. So we have to assume the worst. And as you well know, the most cheap, efficient, and reliable drought management tool we've got is conservation. So we're going to need a lot more of this kind of public education in 2015. We can scale up and we can scale down based on the resources we get at Save Our Water. Here's Jennifer.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you all for having us here today. We're always excited to tell you how things are going on the statewide education front. And just another moment on this slide, just right off the bat in January, there was the announcement by Director Cowan and others of the conditions and other actions. We posted this quote on the Save Our Water website, and it got 237,000 hits, which I thought was astounding, and I don't know if Mark knows that, but, you know, he's got some real power when he speaks. But it definitely sort of set the stage right off the bat for 2015 with our efforts, really focusing Californians on where we still are in this drought. Next slide. So what are we up to in 2015? We are adjusting the program based on lessons learned in 2014. We really did learn a lot about, you know, what do water agencies need? How do you really get this information to the public? All those kinds of things. So we're really retooling, freshening, and focusing in. And one of the biggest things we're doing, and it's as if we had a group meeting before this meeting, but we didn't, and that is the shifting of our message to lifestyle change, permanent lifestyle change in the way we use water every day. So you will still see the drought messaging and coverage throughout the Save Our Water program, but we believe this is where we need to move, so that's where we're moving. Some of the other things you'll notice about the program this year is, you know, the tools are even easier to use. We've got the advantage of a little more time. We were in that 24-hour mode last year trying to be a little more in the reactive sense, but now we've been able to be more proactive and plan. We're going to really pay attention and zero in on Spanish language content, working with Spanish language media, et cetera, to get the word out in that community. We know that's critical. We're going to use the public, better sharing of information through social media to expand our reach. And also interesting, it's already been mentioned today, we've had a lot of focus on the residential Californian. We want to push information out and motivate, if you will, corporate industry, business, to look at their own landscaping around these business parks, et cetera. We can make a lot of inroads there, so that's going to be a big focus. This program is based on research. We've done multiple statewide public opinion polls to really shape it. That's why we focused on landscape so heavily. We're going to be updating that information. Later this month, we'll be in the field, and that will help us refine all the way through. So that's kind of a broad overview. And then if we can go to the next slide, we have an all-new website that was ready to go day one in January. We felt it was very important to already be up and running, understanding that we were still in a dry year. What we've done is to consolidate. We had about 4 websites going last year, which was confusing. We've consolidated everything to saveourwater.com. All the prior URLs will be consolidated. If you hit on any of those, they will take you to the new consolidated website. So that should be a lot easier for everyone. We're really working to maximize the user experience on this website, which is the hub. And we've improved the whole structure of the program so that it is very focused on serving information on all mobile platforms, which is critical nowadays, and integrating with our social media challenges. So that's kind of, again, sort of the intro of the website. Next slide will give you a look at the new look and feel. You'll see, again, the focus that we really want to push saving water, rain or shine. So I want to kind of draw your attention to that. At the very top, we're asking the questions that the public is asking. What do I need to know? Why do I need to care? What can I do? Etc. So the content is really driven by those questions at the top. The other thing that we've done in that next bar is to really segment our audiences. So if you're a water agency, you can go to that tab. you can find the customized tools just for you. Same thing if you're a business, et cetera, or a partner. Partners are those that are partnering with Save Our Water. They're offering in-kind, different kinds of things, working with us. So we have a separate little kit for them. And then on the right side, they can click on and move into different arenas to find out how they can save water. So it's really, really simplified. So that's what you'll see if you go to saveourwater.com. Next slide. So that's where we are right now. We are working to really gear up for a spring launch, which will have even more focus on tips and tools. Again, I mentioned Spanish language focus. We will have a new Spanish language site up and running, a water calculator. I'll touch on that in a minute. And really more information that is presented in a very pleasing sort of infographic format. We know that the public responds to that delivery of information. So those are kind of the broad brush on the website as we move into spring. And the water calculator. We're pretty excited about this calculator. It's in development. I can't reveal all the secrets today, but I will tell you that the way that we're looking at this is to kind of make it a very personal tool for Californians, hence the little reference there to Fitbit-esque. So how many of you have a Fitbit or know of someone that does? See?
Or another brand of
Or it could be,
fitness
that's
calculator.
right. I don't want to show my hand or preference to any particular brand, but what we're trying to do is help Californians create their own profile, just like the steps that they're tracking and the sleep that they're tracking. We want them to track how much water they're using every day. So we're in development right now with some technical wizards, and they are producing what will be a very unique water calculator that we'll be launching in March with our spring campaign. And there will be more drought facts and figures to really hammer home slicing and dicing, a lot of those equivalents that people can relate to, not so much acre feet, which the public can't relate to, but how do we break it down, you know, the drop in the Rose Bowl, that kind of thing. So we're working on all of that as well. Next slide. And as you will move through the website, once all of this is up and running, this build out, as it were, you'll be able to click on parts of a home. Here you have a kitchen. You see the little plus symbols. This is kind of our artist's rendering at this point. And it will teach you what is the appropriate amount of water to be using for a dishwasher, for a clothes washer, both inside and out. But you can see that it's very user-friendly looking. It's inviting. And so we're working very closely, obviously, with DWR on the right numbers. That's going to be probably our greatest challenge. But that way, the public, consumers can drill down and really figure out, well, how much should I be using? Or if I'm going to change out my appliances, what should I be looking for? This will be a very simple way for them to get that information.
Those are fun, actually.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes 21 days to make a good positive habit and 21 days to break a really bad habit. What we are going to focus on is creating a new habit that's a positive habit. Again, everything is linked together, just like your 10,000 steps. We want you to create for 21 days, work really hard at saving water, and then it will become part of your lifestyle. So that's all going to be the focus of sort of the marketing that will roll out in the spring. And we are in development on this as well. But I think you get the idea. It's becoming, really making this personal, making it something that everyone can do, and something that everybody will want to do if they're not already doing it. So you'll hear much more about that. But it's going to be the 21-day water saving challenge. And if you think about this, this is our movement for 2015. We had a movement last year. It was very successful. This will be, along those lines, kind of like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, if you will. So that type of thing. And here is the sort of array of things that also will be part of our program. I want to underscore the part in parentheses scaled to the Save Our Water budget. As we are continuing the program. Obviously, we're up on social media right now. We've been tweeting throughout this board meeting, so you're all famous with all of you that have made presentations today. That's all continuing, but to ramp up takes more dollars. We will have about 600,000 to get us through the fiscal year, and we will endeavor to do as much as we can on this list. Obviously, social media is very cost effective for us. Some radio, really whatever we can do with the funds that we have. We also are going to pursue, we started this last year with certain agencies, kind of cost sharing to both help them, bring our products to them. We did that with the Conan TV spots, the Metropolitan Water District, East Bay Mud, et cetera. They partnered with us. We had the spot. They helped us get it on the air locally. So we want to do more of that to sort of spread the wealth and reduce the cost, and then really zero in on areas that they don't maybe have the wherewithal to get this message on the street, to see what we can do in a more intentional way to assist them. But we will be budget constrained. We're hoping for the best, that there could be funds forthcoming. But, we've been able to do a lot on very little since this program started, so we will continue to do that. And I think that's everything we have. And again, SWRCB.com. You can scribble out all prior URLs.
Terrific.
We're
And
happy
that's
to answer
important.
your questions.
We've been trying to punctuate a lot of things with SaveOurWater.com, whether it has to do with conservation or not, just to say it as often as possible.
We know you do, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, it's
Thank
important.
you.
Are there questions, or comments?
Yeah,
This is really important.
that's extremely important. And really, if you look at our